The Fat Controller preferred steam engines on his railway, but he found diesels useful because they could pull either coaches or trucks. "You're versatile," he would say to them. "Real mixed traffic engines." Boko and Bear were proud of this, but James was not impressed. He liked these two diesels, but he treated all others with deep suspicion. "Diesels don't use coal and water," he would say darkly. "How can you trust an engine who isn't normal in his habits?" "They're all right," said Henry. "Just mixed traffic engines like you and me." "Mixed up engines, you mean?" James grunted. "With windows at each end. How can they know if they're coming or going?" "Toby has 2 cabs," remarked Duck, "and he gets on all right." "Toby's just a little engine," scoffed James. "If an important engine like me didn't know which way to turn, what would the railway come to?" Visiting diesels sometimes boasted about how special they were. Usually Boko and Bear had to spend the next day smoothing ruffled feelings. One night, winter had come and held everything in an icy grip. The countryside was frozen hard. Trees were white with frost, and icicles hung from bridges and water columns. Mercifully, there was little snow. "Too cold for that, thank goodness," shivered James's driver as he and the fireman huddled on the sheltered side of the cab. James had an open footplate, and every day his crew came to work muffled to the eyebrows in scarves and jerseys. Sometimes water columns froze too, and then the engines could not get the water they needed. But this never happened at the work station. "We'll give you a good topping up while we can. There's no telling when we might get some more." James shivered, but he knew his driver was right. They filled James's tank to the brim because the fireman forgot to tell the driver to turn the tap off. Water overflowed onto James's tender, making him shiver again. "Right," said the fireman, "let's be off. I want to warm myself up shoveling coal." "We can't go yet," laughed the driver. "They haven't finished loading the luggage van." "Well, I wish they'd hurry," grumbled the fireman. "I'm frozen from standing on that tender." All engines have a tap called an injector. It allows the driver or fireman to transfer water from the tender to the boiler. They had not gone far before James felt thirsty. "I need a drink, please," he said. His driver switched on the injector, but nothing happened. The fireman tried his duplicate. Still nothing. "I've got such a pain," groaned James. "Your injector's failed," said his driver. "Blockage in the pipe, most likely. We'll have to stop and deal with your fire. Can't go on without water." "Don't set the sleepers on fire," pleaded James. The fireman laughed. "You'll be all right if we just damp you down," he said. "There's no need to throw the fire out." They stopped near a signal box, and James's driver asked the signalman to telephone for help. The work sent a diesel, whom James had never met, to help him. "Rescued by a diesel," he snorted disgustedly. "It's degrading. I won't go." But he soon changed his mind, because now that his fire was down, his boiler was cooling, and he could feel the icy wind. The diesel was friendly. James was quiet at first, but by the time they reached the works, the diesel had won him over, and the two of them were chatting like old friends. At the works, James's fireman tried to open the filler cap, but couldn't. "There's your answer, James," he said. "Your filler cap's frozen solid. That's because the water overflowed. Ice is stopping air from getting into the tank, so the injectors can't work. You'll be all right when the ice melts." He was, and that wasn't all. Thanks to his new friend from the works, even James now admits that diesels can be useful engines too.